right, buddy. Welcome to the Thursday Night Forum. Paul Chair, Arsenal fan circle here. You're all welcome. Even Stan and his list. Even Alonso and his references to Martin Truex.
Junior.
Junior. And BX is in chat as always. Thanks for being here, BX. Gunner, 81. All right, Alonso, how are you doing?
Pretty well, Ray. I know we're going to talk about the game, the match, but yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm off today, so I got my hair cut and all that, so able to hang out and do all that. So looking forward to talking to you guys. Hello, Stan.
Hey, Stan, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Just quite an average week. Hair update: Leandro Trossard.
It's coming in nicely.
It is.
Yeah.
But
Can we see the Trossard celebration? Can we see that Trossard thing? Yeah. 8 out of 10 for that effort. What do you think, Alonso? What do you think?
Good 9.
Ooh, okay. Feeling generous tonight, Alonso. All right. Look, putting together tonight's podcast. There's things we're going to talk about, of course, but the momentum of 4 wins, hopefully being 5 on the weekend when we play Burnley, if we're hungry and if we're professional enough not to overlook them. Porto looms large next Wednesday as well, back in the Champions League. So we'll have a little bit of Champions League chat, and things are looking good on the back of a 6-0 win against West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, I did actually. I missed that game, to be honest with you, live, because it was on here at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was umming and ahhing because I don't have the replay facility anymore. I was umming and ahhing about getting up, and when you get to my age, getting up at 6 in the morning can really put you out of whack on a Sunday, because I find it difficult to go back to sleep afterwards.
Yeah,
I'm up there for the day, and then I'm kind of like groggy and no good to anyone for the day, and I wake up Monday morning feeling kind of very drowsy.
Yeah.
So I didn't get up. I didn't get up for the game, so I had to watch the highlights and match of the day.
Yeah, I know how I feel. For me, that's Monday mornings, getting up Monday mornings, and by the time Friday comes, you're ready for that weekend. A couple of days of chill.
I'm ready for it now, mate.
What's that?
So I'm ready for it now, to be honest.
Ready for it now. Yeah. Well, look, the weekend starts here, Alonso, on Thursday Night Forum.
Well, work tomorrow and Saturday, so I guess it doesn't rain. I'm joking now, but yeah, I mean, I woke up early enough. I had a friend come by and we watched the game, and it was a refreshing. Typical Arsenal, right? You go to a slow start and then they put the hammer on you. It was a great masterclass in the first half. It seems like the group now is gelling like we want them to. Though it may take a little bit of time, but I think they're finally seeing what they could do with the kind of team they have now. It seems like Trossard is solidified himself as the main striker. It seems like, because you can't depend on Jesus nor Nketiah, so I think he plays that role perfectly. And if that's the case, then Havertz is the new number 8, I guess, and Trossard is the number 9.
Mm-hmm.
So they interchange a lot, him and Trossard, whenever Trossard plays. So that's goals, and that's goals that we need. And I believe we're goal differential tie with City. So hopefully we'll see some more goals put in the net. But besides that, it was also a clean sheet.
100% clean sheet away from home. What our rivals would have considered to be a difficult fixture to go and get some points on the London Stadium, and we did that. We just come through that Liverpool and West Ham game now with 2 wins on the trot, 6 points. You translate that to last season. We know we dropped points against both of those teams in quick succession. So we're starting to build up some momentum now, beating Crystal Palace, coming back, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, and now West Ham 6-0 away from home. And I was thinking, Dan, the mechanism between Trossard and Havertz, they could actually switch places within the game, and it wouldn't really look any different. Havertz could be that 9, and Trossard could be that 8.
Well, the team does play in a very fluid way, where players are switching positions. But it does feel to me that our backup striker was supposed to be Eddie Nketiah, and he now seems to be the backup for the backups.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you are Eddie Nketiah, surely you can see that the writing is on the wall, and you've got a decision to make. Are you going to do a Cedric and just hang in there to the very last day, or are you going to be actively looking for a move away where you can continue to, grow as a footballer and maybe go somewhere where you're going to be getting more minutes and more starts? That's the choice I think he has to make. And it's, whichever way he decides to go, it's up to him.
Yeah, look, I think it's no coincidence that, when Eddie is now the peripheral figure in the squad and not getting the minutes, that we're actually looking much better now. And what you would say the second part of the season here, we're starting to build up some momentum, and Eddie's not been part of that. We got to be ruthless in a sense when it comes to our squad now, Stan.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're Eddie Nketiah and Jesus is declared injured and is going to be out for a while, you're getting your playing boots out, aren't you? You're getting your best boots out and everything, and then the manager's like looking over at you and going like, "No, mate, it's not your turn yet." You know what I mean? Just hold tight.
Yeah.
And you see other people, that have come to the club after you and don't naturally play in that position, coming in ahead of you, and not only are they coming in ahead of you, they're contributing. So it's hard to argue for a case for Eddie at the moment,
And we're getting into a critical part of the season now where we need to pick up points that we have sort of thrown away in the earlier part of the season, especially over the New Year's. Unfortunately, we're probably going to have to look back at the West Ham game and the Fulham game, and if things don't go perfectly for the rest.
Oh, what's happened? It's frozen.
Easy points that we should have picked up.
So
the signal got slow.
You froze there for a while. We didn't hear you.
What was the last word I said?
You said we're going to have to try and pick up some points, and then you kind of was like this for a while.
I'll have to smile a little bit more because you know what? Arsenal are pretty good right now, Alonso. We got to enjoy this, But we're going to have to pick up those points that we lost over the New Year's against West Ham and against Fulham. And apparently I just made the list. Okay. Make it official, Stan. Go ahead.
No, that's not list. I mean, come on. I'm not gonna list you for internet problems.
For internet issues, It can be
unless
said
unless it becomes a very constant thing, obviously.
That would be tiresome, BX Gunner said it can be said our attack is very unorthodox. It's like a 6-headed hydra. Yeah. So, we don't have the focal point of attack in Erling Haaland or even Salah and Nunez. But Alonso, we can get goals from everywhere, Alonso.
Yeah, I think that's what's refreshing about it is like we don't have to depend on certain players. We just go for a back as well. I think what Arteta's been working on is the set pieces, and it seems like Gabriel has a knack for goal, as does Saliba now. So it's kind of cool seeing our center back scoring the same game like Bob Holding and Megadeth did all those like 2 years ago at West Ham, I believe. So I mean it's a new dimension that we could use, and it seems like Declan Rice has been taking corner kicks, and he's done a pretty good job of taking those corner kicks and free kicks as well. So it's kind of a different scene that we can score from either way. And I think that's what's important about this team is that we can score. Anyone can score. We have balanced scoring. It's just kind of different. You don't see that anymore. It's because other teams have had their structures to score goals, and I think we're different, which is cool.
Yeah, we definitely are different. Arteta seems to be gaining more confidence in the team and playing a highly fluid system. And a player like Trossard, who we mentioned already, providing that long ball for Saka to run onto for the second goal, the penalty, and his goal as well, leading up to half time. It looks like Leandro Trossard is stepping up Bukayo Saka. We need him to become more of a killer, and I think he's starting to do that as well. It's shocking actually when you look back at the first time Bukayo Saka played for Arsenal. He was a kid. He looked like a kid, and now he's grown up under our eyes and stuff like that. So now he's a man now. 50 goals to his name. BX said that fans we've built up only to fall, but this team seems different. Mentality and ability to go toe to toe is a lot higher. So Stan, we're actually seeing it play out this season, right? It's a lot different than last season. We've said that a lot, but it seems like it might be more sustainable, and we might be tougher for the run-in for the last 10, 12 games.
Maybe there's an argument that last season, because it was such a hell of a strong start, that maybe come around this time of the year, we'd run out of a little bit of steam. And it's usually around this time of year, don't they, that they say that Man City usually have their second wind and come on stronger. Maybe there's something similar happening to us where we've still got more left in the tank.
Yeah.
Rather than be burnt out now at this time of year, we still might have another gear to go. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and look, I'm gonna love it, Stan, because some of these pundits are dining out on slagging Arsenal off this season, and I would like to see them eat a large slice of humble pie.
Yeah, I think as well. Though the more they do it, I think the better it is for us. I don't want them as my bedfellows, to be honest. People like Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. I don't need them to anoint my team.
Yeah,
as being
Rio
good.
Ferdinand, another one. Rio Ferdinand,
another one. Yeah, another one.
He actually said recently, Bukayo Saka hasn't done it in the Champions League, or he hasn't arrived because he hasn't done it in Champions League. Well, he hasn't had the opportunity to do it in Champions League until this season.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Michael has joined us as well. Thanks for being here, Michael. You're welcome to Thursday Night Forum. So, Alonso, it's going to come. I'm actually looking at the fixture list, and Porto is coming up next Wednesday as well. So we're getting into a part of the season where Mikel Arteta needs to be very careful about his squad selections for, a game like Burnley away from home this weekend.
Yeah, again, I don't know if most of Foles healthy or not to play on Saturday, but this will be an ideal game for him to play. Rotation is important, and we gotta keep that rotation going, because if we don't, then people who want to play don't get a chance to, because of how much Miguel Arteta picks his team. We all know that Saka's going to play because that's the first name on the clean in the sheet every weekend or every game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's got to be some kind of ability there, and trust that he has depth on the bench to play Reece Nelson or Patrick. Vieira. So it's up to him. And if Arteta really wants to play in Kedia, it would be against Burnley. Because we don't know how bad Jesus is going to be out for, or how long he's been out for, rather. I wouldn't mind seeing Jorginho in there as well. And from what I read, Tomiyasu and Timber are back as well, hopefully. So, there's a lot of things that can go wrong and right, and Arteta has to pick his team wisely as well.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome to Rohan as well. Haven't seen you in a while, Rohan. Great to see you here. Welcome, Michael and Rohan. BX doing the duties there. Yeah. great to see Rowan in the chat box. So hopefully you stick around for a little bit. Yeah, Stan. Look, it's going to come thick and fast now. It's Burnley, Porto, Newcastle, Sheffield United, Brentford, Porto again, and Chelsea.
Yeah, I might have messed up because I was watching Match of the Day at the weekend, and I was thinking to myself, like, how is it that Vincent Kompany is getting such a pass? I mean, Burnley's only had 3 wins so far this season, you know, and it almost seems like it's really being, to me, glossed over the poor results that they're having there at Burnley, and it's almost like everybody's kind of like treating Vincent Kompany like the little engine that could. Whereas there are other managers which, you know, have more standing in the game, and if they go through a tiny run, then everyone calls for their head. You know, and I put that out on Twitter, and then Fergus said to me, maybe you should have put that out a week later, because I get what he's saying. It's like, why is Vincent Kompany getting a pass for all these bad results and then they beat us? You know, I didn't think of that, but it does seem that way to me. I mean, they seem like a terrible team, and it almost seems like when they have like the after, you know, the post-match analysis and they speak to Vincent Kompany, he's almost like, well, yeah, we made a pass today and it found a Burnley player, so, you know, I can really see improvement. And I'm like, and everyone's like, yeah, well done. You passed the ball and it got to a player on the same side. Well, look at that. They're really improving as a team. And you're like, do me a favor.
Well, yeah, could it be like he's trying to take the stink of Burnley out of Burnley? You know,
I mean, I'm just looking at. I mean, don't get me wrong. He seems like a nice enough person, Vincent Kompany. But I mean, it just really seems to me that he's getting like the biggest pass in the world at the minute, and the results have been terrible.
Yeah, but it's plucky little Burnley trying to play football, trying to play attractive football, Stan. You know, and it's not Sean Dyche anymore and Burnley. So, you know, there is a little bit of Man City.
They seem better under Sean Dyche. You know, they seem like more cohesive.
Yeah.
Whereas it seems to me that even if Burnley get relegated, he's not going to lose his job. It seems like there's no jeopardy. And I just think that sometimes, you know, especially in the high stakes that is being a football manager in the Premier League, you know, you don't really want to have your surroundings made too comfortable. If I was the owner, you know, I would want there to be a little bit more of a sword of Damocles kind of a feel if my club was in the similar situation. Yeah. Do you see where I'm coming from? I'm not saying that he has to be walking on eggshells, but at the moment, it just seems like it doesn't matter. Like what happens, you know, we're not getting rid of Vincent.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's a healthy kind of environment to have when you're supposed to be, you know, when you're trying to be competitive.
Yeah, and look, we do hope that his Rocky start.
Reminds me of. Remember what I used to say about certain players, about how you have certain players that when they know that there's no player that's fighting for their position, like Hector Bellerin was a player that, if Hector Bellerin was fit, he would play because we didn't have anybody else.
Yeah.
We didn't have anybody else that was competing for his spot. And I used to say that. Remember, I used to say that when you're in that position and you find yourself in the middle of a football match and you find yourself having a stinker, it's very easy to say to yourself and try to make a pact with yourself that I know I'm having a stinker this week, but don't worry, I'm going to play much better next week. I'll make up for it next week because you know that you're going to be playing next week. And what happens next week? You have another stinker and you make the same promise to yourself. You're kidding yourself, right? You're conning yourself. You're trying to justify it. And it kind of feels a little bit like that with Vincent Kompany. A little bit, you know. I know, but next week we're going to be better. And everyone just, because he knows that there's no one coming in, there's no one waiting to take his job. There doesn't seem to be any jeopardy. It's
actually funny because they won the championship. They won the EFL at a canter last season. Burnley got promoted, but they're probably the least equipped to stay in the division. You know?
Did they get promoted with Vincent Kompany? Is he the one that won the league with them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, they came up. They won it at a canter as well, and
And have they made any investments since they've been promoted?
I think they brought a few players in, but they have not. They've not shown the tenacity, the strength, the character needed to go ahead and compete in this Premier League. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Alonso, actually, Dan, would you be able to drop the link in for Lawrence? Do you have it there?
How do I do that?
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Technical shit. What do I have to do?
All right. Let's see what I can do. So go ahead and chat about Burnley.
Copy. Do I have to send it on Twitter?
Yeah, just DM. Yeah, send
Or
them a DM. Yeah, you got it. All right.
I think so.
Look how technical we are.
What's his handle again? SC1 something, isn't it?
One ice.
Yeah, I've got
He's
it in my
first,
thing here.
He's the first spice.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I got it. Hold on.
The
Talk
first
amongst
spice.
yourself.
Yeah. Morning, Tiger and Gunnar. Good to have you here. Yeah, listen, I did intend to drop that link in there for you, Lawrence. Lost a bunch of loan players who helped him get up, said Rowan. Well, Lonzo, when you look at Stan, yeah.
Check your box, Lawrence. I think I've done it. Look at me.
A monumental task. Monumental
I'm quite
task.
proud of myself.
Alonso, when you look at Luton have come round to life in the Premier League. They took a little bit of getting used to it, but now they're fighting away. Maybe with Sheffield United are in there still, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if any of the groups, any of the teams that got promoted this year, I hope Luton stay up because there's a certain nostalgia about them. I really like Ross Barkley. I like the way how he's, I guess, taken over the leadership role. I think he's come back strong again after Everton and Chelsea. You know, he went on to, I think, Nice, right, in French and Ligue 1.
Yeah.
So seeing him, I guess, the rebirth of getting back to the Premier League is pretty incredible. I don't know how long he's there for, but you know he's done a solid job as far as being that de facto leader that they all need at Luton Town.
Yeah.
So I hope they stay up just because they have good fans, they have proper fans, and I hope that they build their stadium up even more than it already is, so to accommodate more fans because I think they got something good going there. So if I had a preference, it would be Luton Town. Now, however, Sheffield United had never really taken a big leap into the Premier League, and Burnley, as a footballer, I can never stand Vincent Company at City, so you know they could go back down and go back down to the Championship. You know, I could care less about them, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, Luton, I think to me had the most promise. I hope they stay up because I want them. I want new blood in there, and I'll be there staying for a long time.
Can I just say as well, as you're talking about managers, you know, managers like the one at Luton, what's his name? Gary, what is it? The Luton manager. What's his name? Young lad, isn't he? Young
Rob.
English.
Yeah.
It's Rob
Gary
something,
isn't it? Gary?
No, Rob something. Rob something.
Rob Evans.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I also who's the other young English manager? Gary something. A small team as well.
Gary O'Neill.
Yeah. Who's he with?
I think he's with
Wolves.
Wolves.
Yes. See, these are the managers that you know you have to kind of like, even if you're looking at for the future of the international level that you hope have got to come good, because if you look through the league, you know where is the English manager that's managing a big team?
Mm-hmm. Outside of Eddie Howe,
they're either with teams that have come up from the Championship, and they've got to continue to produce, or they'll be fired and probably be replaced by someone from Portugal or Spain or Italy or wherever, right? So these are the young managers that they have to come good for the future of managing, right? Because you look through the English league, and as I say, English managers are really in the minority, aren't they, for paving the way?
Yeah.
And that needs to change.
Gareth Southgate safe in his in the England job then as well, Stan. Lawrence, sorry, apologies for not dropping the invite in your box there. I did intend to do that. Thanks for joining. We're just talking about Burnley, and they won the EFL last season by some distance, playing great football, but they're probably least equipped to stay in the Premier League. Out of the teams. Luton are really making a good fist of it, and Sheffield United are still fighting.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder, their management skills, why they, they fight their way to get promoted, and then when they get to the big league, they don't do anything to cement themselves. They go straight back down.
Yeah.
Like another example is Norwich City. I can't remember the number of times they've been promoted, and then the next season they go straight back down. What's the point? If you get promoted to the Premier League, make an effort, bring in some signings.
Yeah.
Some not quality signings, but players that are going to help you, stay up. Because in that case, you're just not. You're not progressing.
Yeah, look, I think Mr. Tom will recognize we as Arsenal fans, we're in kind of a privileged position, and these teams in the bottom half are going to be fighting to stay up, stay in the division, stay 16th, 17th stand in their league. Mr. Tom, good night. Tom. Congratulations, 6-0 win. And Mr. Tom, you're going quite well in the EFL Championship, so hopefully you get back to the Premier League next year. Stan?
What?
I don't know. I thought you had something.
I was just saying I just said good night to Mr. Tom.
I have a pen too. You will talk. You will talk.
Every time you say Mr. Tom, I think about that David Bowie song, Major Tom.
Major Tom. I always think about the chocolate bar over here with peanuts on, called Mr. Tom.
Nice one, says Moss. My Bruins are losing, so AFCC more enjoyable than that. And on the back of a 6-0 win, and we're talking about Mr. Tom here. Mr. Tom, is there an on-tail chat? Probably not. Boo, I can't. The Bruins? No, we can't get behind the Bruins, right, Alonso? Wolves lone striker to Frankfurt, and that Sasha Kaladnic forward did good today, and a Danish striker scored.
Didn't see Moss sneak in there.
Yeah. So
yeah, speaking of Frankfurt, as Moss mentioned, he was mentioning Frankfurt. You may remember on this broadcast, maybe 4 seasons ago, maybe, I was really, when we were looking at bringing players in, there was one Dutch player that I was really hot on. I think a lot of people actually thought I had a man crush on him, and I'm talking about the one and only Donny van der Beek, who went off to Manchester United for 35 million, which really pissed me off, and it didn't work out for him. And he's gone to Frankfurt, and I've been reading about Mr. van der Beek over the last couple of days, and he's gone over to Frankfurt on a loan deal from Manchester United with the option for them to buy him for 13 million, and he's unable to complete 90 minutes. He's the sub that's getting subbed, which is never quite good. And he got left out of their Europa League team, and he's not been having a good time of it. And it's just a shame of what can happen to a player. You'd think that the bad time, before he went to Man United, I thought he was a very good player, playing in that sort of like a number 10 role.
Yeah.
And you'd think that you go, you've got a fresh start in a different country, that you try to resurrect yourself. But for whatever reason, still not working out for him, and they're saying that he's got a hell of a lot of work to do to even be considered to being kept on past his loan.
Yeah, a lot of things. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, isn't he married to Dennis Bergkamp's daughter?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he was definitely a partner. Don't know if they're married, but he was with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's his son-in-law, I think.
Yeah, I seem to remember. Yeah.
So I think it's tough out there. We we expect players to just transfer to another club and for everything to go perfectly correctly for them. Stan, we've been.
I'm just laughing because Rohan reminded me it was I wanted Donny van der Beek and Edouard in that particular window.
Edouard, yeah.
That was another one.
Yeah, you and Tony. Edouard.
And then after that, it was. Do you remember when I was on? What was the other one? Darwin Núñez.
Yeah.
Darwin Núñez. Do you remember?
That wasn't a bad one. I mean, he's doing okay. Liverpool, he gets slagged off a lot for.
But I'm allowed 1 in 5. Apparently, that's Mikel Arteta's hit rate when he buys players. And my 1 in the 5 was Trossard because we were both you and I spoke about, that we thought that would be someone that we could look at for a reasonable price well before there was even any links.
So I guess what we're saying, Stan, is it's not easy to identify talent that can come to a club and prosper. It's
the difference is, I mean, you do it on a podcast, not for 5 million a year. So
we're not getting paid. The difference is we're not getting paid the money those Manchester United executives are getting paid, or the Arsenal executives getting paid. De Jong and Zerke, Dutch would be good, and Young, Hato. So Lawrence, we're coming into the thick of it now. Burnley. Then Champions League next midweek. Then Newcastle, it is BX Gunner. Sheffield United, Brentford, and Porto before we finish before the interlull with Chelsea. So Mikel Arteta's got to be very careful about his squad now. And picking the right players, rotating the right players. There's a couple of ways to do it. You can go strong and win a game at Burnley 2-3-0 and make substitutions, or you can put some trust in the squad players to start.
Yeah. We've
go strong.
We've got to be careful. I'm worried about Saturday because
you're always worried, Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean,
the warrior.
I mean, what was that saying? Once you cross the white line, it's a different game.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It's easy to go down the list and say, okay, we're going to get 3 points from this game. We're going to take a point off someone else. It's easy to do that, but that's not how it's done.
Yeah.
Once you cross that white line, and as I said, I watched the Burnley's game last weekend, and to be quite frank, they were a match for Liverpool. So, I mean, and if you remember when they played us at our place early in the season, we couldn't break them down until stoppage time in the first half.
Yeah.
So they're no mugs, they're fighting for their life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, on paper it should be a definite 3 points, but I think we've got to be careful. Porto, the following week, following midweek.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you think, but I think he should give Ramsdale a chance in that game. I dressed Raya.
I can't see Ramsdale.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's like putting a tooth under your pillow and hoping to wake up and finding a bag of sand there.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we have in this calendar month we have these 7 games coming, but I just can't see Ramsdale coming in and playing the game, even if we're playing every 3 days. I don't see that happening. Unfortunately, Lawrence. I'd like to see him. I would have liked to have seen him get a game. I think there was a game recently where you thought he was going to play, but he didn't play. And maybe that was he played the FA Cup game. But there is a Brentford game coming up that he will be able to play because Raya's not going to be allowed to play. Brentford. So we'll see him on the 9th of March.
Or Carl Hein.
Or Carl Hein.
Runnison.
Definitely.
I think the next league game for me. You said, do we go big with the strongest team that we can, or do we go with rotation? I think that because we're still chasing the league, we're only a couple of points off, but we're still in that tight position, and we're on the same points as City. I think we have to go with our strongest team. Yeah, and obviously, if the game becomes comfortable, which it should, playing against Burnley, we should be able to get ourselves into a comfortable enough position to then, we can make 5 substitutions. We should then be able to take some of our key players out for the upcoming game on Wednesday. If we were sort of like 5 points ahead in the league, then maybe I could think about going the other way. But there's too much to play for, and a couple of points. And if we start with our rotation squad, and it goes wrong for whatever reason, and then we bring
Lawrence.
The bench.
Oh God! Stan. I never thought Stan would go the other way, but now.
No, he didn't say he would. He said he'd think about it.
In the old days, right, when they used to give kings long titles like William the Conqueror or Edward the Confessor, if Lawrence was a king, he'd be like Lawrence the Warrior.
Yeah.
Definitely. Rohan, I'm going to go up top here with Rohan. Get away from these two for a second. Rohan, we should have gone money in January if we wanted to win the league.
Yeah, but with what? We didn't not go for Tony because we decided that we were okay. We didn't have 2 fucking farthings to rough together. Apparently, as I understood it, we had something like 11.9 million to spend. If we wanted to spend without selling anyone, that's all we had.
Bob and sixpence. Yeah,
that's not getting you a big toe.
No, exactly.
So it wasn't that we decided that we were okay. We literally hands were tied because of that profit and sustainability malarkey. That's tied the hand of everybody. Everybody's fighting to make a move.
Yeah, and there was very little expenditure in this window, and Tottenham spent something like 75% of the whole window expenditure with Timo Werner. We're at this point where we're a pretty decent team right now because we have gone right up to the hilt of financial fair play over 3 years.
Yeah, and some people are sitting there thinking, "Oh man, we could get Mbappe." I mean, with what? I'm just going out into the garden to shake that money tree. I'll be right back. The fuck? Do you know what I mean?
Well, maybe he could see London while he's here. You know what I mean? It's not going to get.
I'd like to talk about Mbappe if we can, because there's a lot of these. One of the headlines. Mbappe would consider coming to Arsenal. Of course, he'd consider it if we pay him what he wants. Did you know what I'm getting at? That's the consideration here, right? If Kylian Mbappe had a boyhood dream to one day play for Real Madrid, he'd already be playing for Real Madrid now, today. He'd be a Real Madrid player. It'll be for maybe 2 seasons already. It's all about the dough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
His mum's his agent, and apparently she drives a hard bargain. And what they want from Madrid, they've said, okay, if you want him, you need to give him 175 million as a signing on fee. So just for saying I'm coming and play for you, you got to give him 175 million. Now we need to talk about his wages. That needs to be 60 million a year. That's what they're asking for. He's on a free. They want the transfer fee that you would pay for him to go to the player, right? Madrid. When he walked away from the contract 2 years ago, he was on the cusp of signing, and then he renewed with PSG. Apparently, what they're offering him now is less than the previous offer, right? And I think, and rightly so, because you had your chance, but you walked away like Bertie Big Bollocks. If you want to play for us, this is it. And they're offering. I don't know what they're offering as that sign-on fee, that 175 million. I don't know what they're offering, but I know that the salary that they're offering is 30. That's half of what his entourage is saying that he needs to get. And meanwhile, at Paris Saint-Germain, they're saying to him, if you re-sign with us, we'll pay you 86. million a year. So for me, this is all about money. If he really wanted to play for Real Madrid and that was his lifelong dream, lying on his bed, looking at posters on the wall, dreaming of playing for the Los Blancos, he would already be a Madrid player.
Yeah.
Right? Let's make no bones about it. So him saying that he would consider Arsenal, he'd consider us if we're going to stump up that kind of dough. And we ain't. We ain't going to stump up that kind of dough. Do you know what? I hope, right, that he prices himself out of the market. I hope that Madrid say, you know what?
Hasn't he already?
Because I do. It's not like Real Madrid aren't already winning things without him. Just, you don't get in that. It's not like he goes there and all of a sudden they can win the Champions League. They're already winning that shit. So what is he really bringing other than merchandising and the star power, right? So I would love them. I would love them to say and walk away. And then I'd like PSG to go, no. And just leave him like, what? What?
And to be honest, do you honestly think Mikel Arteta would want someone with that ego in the dressing room?
No.
I don't know what his ego's like. I don't know what his personality's like, but surely just the wages alone is going to destroy any dressing room. What happens?
Well, that will give you an inkling, right?
Here's a scenario, right? Let's go through this scenario, right? We pay out all this money to get Kylian Mbappe. Yeah, he's on 60 fucking million a year, whatever it is, and he goes for a barren spell. He can settle properly at first, and he's not, you know. And you've got other players in the team who are scoring goals. What are they gonna? Do they then have the right to knock on the manager's door and go, "All right, mate, I've got a contract coming up in about 6 months' time. I'm doing more than that guy. So what am I worth? What's happening here then? I mean, it's going to just kill. It's going to kill every dressing room, surely."
As Lawrence has intimated about this as well, Stan, the chat about wages will give you an inkling as to the temperament of the player. Everyone wants to get paid, but when you're talking about exorbitant amounts like this, it just speaks to the temperament of the player. And would Mikel Arteta even entertain paying these kinds of wages to this kind of player? You know,
I just think I don't see how. Not only can it's not about entertaining it; it's about is it doable? And I just don't see how that kind of yearly salary. I mean, he takes up 20% of the wages of Paris Saint-Germain. One player already. That's one player.
Yeah, we're in a situation where, you know, we can't even.
I like him. Don't get me wrong. I like him. And I was also reading that when he goes to his next club, he said that I want to play on the left. So, you know, he doesn't want to play for the middle. He wants to play on the left.
Yeah.
So if he goes to Real Madrid, if he does go to Real Madrid, then they're going to have to move on Vinicius Jr. Probably, right, to accommodate him, because that's where he plays. That's his spot.
I think he plays on the right. Vinicius does. I'm not sure about that. But look, Arsenal are in a situation where we could have spent the Havertz money on Tony, but we didn't. But right now we don't have money to pay Mbappe right now, and so who says it's even going to happen? You know what I mean? Moss heading over, starting 5th to the 14th. Brentford and FC Porto are the games taken in. Mope ahead games got to be ignored. We'll get back to Mbappe. If we show the same killer instinct we've shown the last 3 games, we can do it against Burnley and against Porto. Moss will see Rami March 9th. The training ground naming rights will fund the deal for either Ivan Toney, but maybe not Mbappe. Stan Mbappe to Arsenal on EAFC 24. Mbappe's mom wants to do what Barca did with Messi, and then some Madrid can go after another winger or striker. Tell them to score a World Cup final hat tricks first. Mbappe. Xhaka is doing all right. We'll talk a little bit about that, Michael, in a second. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great player, and every time I start a new season on a FIFA game, the career mode, and you create the manager and that. Before I do that, I go into the customization of the team, and I always transfer before the game Mbappe to Arsenal, so that when the game starts, he's already an Arsenal player and didn't cost me nothing. I do that every time. It's like the club. In my head, it's like I've invested into Arsenal and I paid for Mbappe as part of the welcome package. That's how I justify it.
We'll get back to Rohan's ideas about last summer's transfer window as well. Mbappe could be Newcastle's missing link to winning the title.
Yeah, but again, they were in a similar situation as us in January, where in order for them to buy players, they would have had to have sold one of their big players. So again, I mean, they've got an open checkbook. They're the richest team on paper, apparently, bank balance wise, but they're still got those same restrictions to spend that dough.
Yeah. And Mbappe's at PSG right now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. And he wants to. What's his situation? Is his current contract's winding down?
When free
agent. When he re-signed his contract with them, right, and they done that big announcement. I remember seeing it. He walks out onto the pitch, onto this little podium thing. They kind of was telling everyone he's with us until 2025. But what it was is his contract was until 2024, but an option for him to extend. And then he kind of started to indicate towards the end of last year that I don't want to extend. Like, what? Yeah. They kind of thought, and then the fans were like, what? I thought it was until 2025. And then it kind of, well, no, he could extend, but he's not doing that. And now he's formally told them, I think within the last week or so, that I'm not staying.
So a lot of people think, Stan, he'll end up at Real Madrid in the end.
They're the only ones that I can see that can come anywhere near the money that he wants. He wants 100 and I mean the salary is skyrocket, right? But there's 170 million as well. Just to say that I will play for you, man. I mean, it's a different world, isn't it? It's just bonkers. Because apparently by not signing with Paris Saint-Germain, he's missing out on some bonus. He would have got like a bonus of 90 million or some exorbitant number. Mm. So he's edging his bets. To me, it sounds like him and his mother, who does his contract. It sounds like it's very much money motivated, and that's fair play. It's up to him. It's up to him. But as I say, if he really had a boyhood dream of playing for Real Madrid, he'd already have been playing for them for 2 seasons already. And he hasn't done that.
Yeah, but I think he's so close to the French prime minister. He's seen as like almost a French hero right now in the country of France, and so I think he's almost had to stay at PSG for a number of years, and now he sees his opportunity to move on, and it probably will be Real Madrid in the end. Moss said wouldn't mind drawing PSG quarter or semi-final then. PSG are not 11 Mbappes. There's one Mbappe to take care of. And they're not they're probably not the best team in the competition right now, PSG. You got City and you got Real Madrid. Maybe Arsenal.
They've always made in the Champions League. I mean, they've had some outstanding sides and personnel that they can play with. Di Maria, loads of players, Marquinhos, Mbappe, fucking Neymar, Messi. They've had it all, but they've never been able to pull off that big one.
Yeah. Any teams in the Champions League you definitely don't want to play right now? Real Madrid, maybe?
Who's left?
Well, I can tell you the main ones. Let me tell you the ones who will probably go through, okay? So City will probably beat Copenhagen. 3-1 up in the first leg. Real Madrid are leading 1-0 over Leipzig, so Real Madrid probably goes through. They've got a home leg coming. PSG are 2-0 up against Real Sociedad, so PSG are going through. Lazio have beaten Bayern Munich which is quite interesting. Harry Kane's on a hiding.
You know what the chance should be? Kane gets
Like that
battered
number.
everywhere he goes.
0.
It should be Harry Kane gets battered everywhere he goes.
Harry Kane.
I've got to say it. Bayern Munich have gone Spursy.
Yeah. 1-0 to Lazio.
Because they,
Right?
yeah, because they've got both Harry Kane and Eric Dyer.
Yeah.
20% Spursy right there.
The thing is, right, they were doing all right when they got Harry Kane. It was the Dyer move, man. That was the hoodoo. That was the voodoo doll.
Then I'd like to stay longer on the Harry Kane. We can come back to Harry Kane in a little bit. Yeah, of course. PSV versus Dortmund. Dortmund probably wins that game. Inter Milan versus Atletico. You'd like to think Inter Milan are favorites there.
Don't know about that.
Well, I don't think so.
So you think Atletico will get through?
I think so. I think they're a good
defensive
defensive team, so we'll see what happens. They have Griezmann. Griezmann's very good too. So,
but can I just say as well? I mean, these teams that you're reading out, these are all the big boys in the game, right? Some big teams in there that you're reading out, and I think it's really good that we're able to keep that company.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be in with Real Madrid, City, if we go through against Porto, of course. Real Madrid, City, PSG, Lazio, not Bayern, Dortmund, maybe Atletico Madrid, and the final one is Napoli versus Barcelona, and probably Napoli there. Yeah,
these are a lot of big boys there, man. All the big boys, and I don't think it's a given at all that we're just going to trounce past Porto because we've had, we've been unpicked a couple of times by Portuguese teams.
Yeah, look, we've got a plum draw here against Porto, and it's going to be really bad if we don't go through against Porto. We've got an away leg to start first next Wednesday. So next Thursday we'll be talking about Champions League, and we're going to have a home leg coming back to the Emirates with Porto. But you're going to play Lawrence. Those quarterfinals are going to be tasty when they come, when that draw comes in. If Arsenal's in the hat to go through the next round,
Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
And I think it's not going to be. You could face a team from your own country then, so it could be an Arsenal City. Could be Arsenal City get paired together in a quarterfinal.
Well, but as the saying go, if you want to, you've got to buy a ticket to be in it.
Yeah,
and you've got to face the big boys. You can't keep wishing to get a minnow. Sooner or later, you're going to have to face Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City along the way.
Man City.
You're not going to get Romford in the Champions League final. It's not going to happen. So.
Really?
Romford would love to be there, Stan.
And you know what? I don't. Sometimes when you see draws and you see people looking at, you draw for a next round in a competition and you see people looking for like who's the easy pick. Sometimes I'm like, I want to play the big team. I want to have our day. I want to try and if we don't, we don't. But I would, I don't want to kind of like try and backdoor it.
Now, look,
why can't we go and stand our ground with a Real Madrid? Even if we don't win and go through, if we can do really well in one of the legs,
yeah,
it's progress, isn't it?
Have one of those big European nights again, Stan. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We were playing some of we all remember Dennis Bergkamp, Freddie Ljungberg scoring goals against Juventus.
Mohamed El Neni screamer against Barcelona. Get him.
Yeah, I'm going back to Canu. I'm going back to Bergkamp. I'm going back to Freddie Ljungberg. I'm going back to Robert Perez, Patrick Vieira.
Thierry Henry.
Yeah, Thierry Henry, of course, scoring goals in the Champions League when, we would rubber stamp our top four for 22 years in a running. And it's been 6-7 years now. So we need to value and enjoy this time now because we were so bad that we weren't even able to get top four. And
I know.
when you look at the teams that are struggling to get top four, were we ever as bad? We were probably as bad as Man United back then. You know, Alonso.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If we get past Porto, they're going to have the draw for both the quarterfinal and semi-final done at the same time. Do you like it that way, or do you prefer to, have it done after each game?
Yeah, I think I prefer to have the draw for the semi-final done once the quarterfinals are finished. Yeah, I think I would agree to have that little element of drama and suspense. Whereas after this quarterfinal draw is made, who's in the top half and who's in the bottom half, so you can start plotting who's going to be in the final.
Uh-huh.
Alonso, what do you think? Do you like the fact that the draws are made so you see semi-final pairings?
I do. I think it's I prefer it that way so we know who we're playing. I guess I don't mind that because it's always curiosity for me. It's kind of cool.
And this will be the last season that we have this format because it's changing next season as well.
Yeah, they've got to play with shit, ain't they? Leave stuff alone.
I don't understand this new format starting next season.
I think it's going to be two league groupings as such, or you play everybody.
The thing is, as well, the biggest joke of all for me is just even calling it the Champions League. Just call it the European Cup. It's not
call it the European Super League. That's basically it.
Yeah,
it's not a Champions League. Some places you can finish fifth and still get in.
Yeah.
Well, they say that.
I see some of the lads in the box are talking about '94 Cup Winners' Cup. Mm-hmm. I just always remember that by looking at Thomas Brolin and thinking to myself, man, he don't have to look like B. Smith off of Prisoner Cell Block H these days. He's an old bag lady, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I just don't understand, well, let me start again. I mean, I read that there's going to be some countries that are going to have 5 teams in it next season, including England.
It's not a Champions League.
So you could have an Aston Villa or a Tottenham in there.
Call it the European Cup. That's it, isn't it? Let's call it the European Cup. That's it. It doesn't matter how many teams. It just takes away that stupidness. You imagine you've just landed in a spaceship. So we're watching here then. You're watching the Champions League. So all of these are champions? No. Then you're like, what the fuck? Get in this spaceship and just leave, wouldn't you? You'd be like, these guys are crazy.
Yeah. So, Michael, I think the only 2 teams probably would be City and Madrid. You'd like to maybe avoid going into the quarterfinal. Could Barca somehow pull off an Mbappe transfer if Madrid can't? They need a reboot. I can't see Mbappe going there. The Flyers just tied it up. I'd love Bayern to go through and get them in the quarterfinals. Well, he's scoring against us, right? If that happens, Harry Kane's probably scoring against us then, I'd rather they go out now against Lazio in the second half. Can't have 2 potatoes or it all goes trophyless. Exactly, Moss.
Did you know, Ray, that if Harry Kane ends up as the top goal scorer in Germany, he gets an award that looks like a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yes. So if you Google the top goal scorer of the Bundesliga, it's a plaque that's holding a replica of a cannon, and Harry Kane is most likely going to have to lift that up and smile, Stan,
I was just looking at Rohan's question there. He says, would you rather play City over 2 legs or a straight in the final in a one-off, hypothetically, of course?
Ooh, that's a great question.
There's something about a one-off game which is more do or die, isn't it? Isn't that
Yeah, so you have a one-off game, it's on a neutral venue, or you have a two-legged fixture at the Etihad and at the Emirates. I would slightly favor the two-legged affair.
I prefer the do or die.
It is do or die over 2 legs.
I don't know.
Don't you think we could go there and play well at the Etihad and hold them to a certain scoreline and then take it back to the Emirates and really have a go with them? But then they're saying like the better team usually wins over 2 legs. So
I will say though that watching that Liverpool game at that particular time when we were leading up to that, I honestly didn't think we were going to get anything out of that game. I thought we could nick a goal, but even though we'd nick a goal, we'd get beaten by 3 goals. That's where I thought we were. Not because I wanted
the recent league game with Liverpool at home.
Yeah, not because I want us to be in that place, but I just the way that I looked at how we were playing, and it just looked like we had this toothless attack, sluggish, and we didn't have anyone that we could put in and take someone out of the firing line. We didn't really have the options like Liverpool have. They've got so much. They've got a choice of about 5 across for 3 places across the front. It's a lot of variety. All of them could be starters, whereas we don't have that. So I was really going into that game, really kind of like thinking, well, here we go. Luckily, we'll be lucky to get a draw. And the way that we played, it really showed me something. But then I was thinking to myself, and I think I said it on the podcast, that we've done really well now against Liverpool. If we go into that game now against West Ham and we don't come away with 3 points, for me, it kind of undoes it a bit.
Yeah.
It's no good. It's no good taking a scalp of a big team one week and then getting your ass kicked in by a minnow the following week. Do you know what I mean? It kind of, it means that you haven't got something right. So to go into West Ham and come and like hoof them 6-0, this team is beginning to show me something.
Yeah. And
it's giving me a lot of hope and belief. I still think we're wafer thin, and we're only maybe 1 injury away or 2 injuries away from real catastrophe. But this team has shown me, I think, they've grown up and gained maturity by what they're doing.
Yeah, we've gotten to a stage where we had a lot of unfamiliar names on the subs bench, and that's why I've got it in the title of the podcast here, patience, because after 30 minutes on Sunday, it didn't look like we were going to beat West Ham 6-0 after 30 minutes, but the goals can come in clutches like that and come quickly. So Rohan said, what's more likely, win the Premier League or the UEFA Champions League? So we're getting back into this question. And I know Tony would probably love to be here because he always loves a good Champions League conversation, And I think at the end of the day, it's still a cup competition, the Champions League is. And on our day, Arsenal can beat anyone on our day. So we might be well suited to this Champions League format. That's my opinion.
I'll put it like this. Tottenham got to a Champions League final.
Yeah. Lawrence, I saw his eyebrows raise.
No comment.
Harder to win the league.
It is harder to win the league. It is. You're up against Man City. And with all due respect to the rest of the Premier League outside of maybe Liverpool and ourselves, the City can probably run the table other than 2 games against Liverpool and ourselves. And that's why it's so important for Arsenal to keep winning these next 5 or 6 games against Premier League opposition like Burnley, Newcastle, Sheffield United, Brentford, and Chelsea to maintain that pressure, because the only place we could maybe see City dropping points is against us at the Etihad or Liverpool at Anfield, and destination in the Premier League is going to come down to very, very fine margins. The Champions League.
You say that though, Ray, but if you look back at before Christmas, they had some hiccups, didn't they, City?
Yep.
They had some results which kind of like, made you think, really? Okay, fair enough. We'll take those dropped points. They have dropped points this season. That's the best way to put it. They've definitely dropped points.
Yeah, they have definitely dropped points, which means right now, after 24, 25 games in the league, we're right there lock and step with Man City. And they face a Chelsea team on Saturday who seem to get up for the big games. Chelsea do. They seem to be there, notwithstanding Liverpool. But
I'll tell you one thing: it's not going to end up 4-4 like last time.
For City or Arsenal?
Well, if you remember when they played each other, Chelsea played Man City earlier in the season. It ended up 4-4. Yeah.
It'll be a tighter game. It'll probably be one of those archetypal, completely different game. 0-0. Mudryk pops up in the 91st minute, scores. But what's more likely?
He won't be on the pitch at the 91st minute. He'd have been subbed.
Well, he'd be subbed on at 85 minutes to win the game, right? I think a Champions League win is more likely, Rohan. But you are in with the big boys, and you have to play very well from time to time in those legs as well. You got a quarterfinal. Let's say we get past Porto, okay? You got a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and a final. There's 5 games that are going to take the utmost concentration. Alonso, what do you think? Premier League or UEFA Champions League?
I would prefer Premier League because last year we already lost out on it. So I would prefer Premier League. Though, if we do good in Champions League, I'll be okay with that as well because it kind of shows that that Arsenal are best in Europe. I think there's a lot of good competition left over. So yeah, it'd be really enticing to see what happens. But up until that point, I'm okay with winning either or. But for me, Champions League, because it shows that we're the best in Europe, in England. So that's a tough question, to be honest. I wouldn't mind either or, but if I had to pick, it would be Champions League. I mean Premier League.
In the Premier League, we have to
just give me a new way to think about that question because I wasn't thinking of it like that. I'm now thinking, what would I actually prefer? What would I?
Well, the question is what's more likely, but yeah, you can tweet.
What do I want? Do I want us to win the league, or would I this season, or would I want us to win the Champions League? And for me, probably because I'm a little bit older, like a lot, some of us here, and I've seen us win the league. I would like to see us lift the European Cup because I've not seen that, or it's now the Champions League. It's a tight one, but I think that for me just slightly edges it because I've not seen that.
And look, that's the one thing. That's the one thing our rival fans. If you get involved in a conversation with a rival fan, you want to have that. You want to have that conversation where we've won the Champions League. You know what I mean?
We can sit at that table and dine.
Yeah, well, Ray, I want to say I've seen us win the Intercities Fairs Cup, which is now the Europa League, when we beat Anderlecht. And I remember, when I flew from Los Angeles to Copenhagen to watch us win the Cup Winners' Cup. And it's always been my dream to see us lift the Champions League.
Yeah.
And for it to be at Wembley as well, that'd be the perfect ending to a season.
And I've said it before, I just never felt that Arsene Wenger and the club had that absolute ambition, burning ambition.
Oh, come on, we got robbed, man. We got robbed. We got to a final.
We got robbed. We got to a final.
20 consecutive seasons in the Champions League, and we only got to one final in those 20 years.
I bet. I bet even the engraver was halfway with putting Arsenal on the cup and was like, "Oh, fuck."
He got the A and the R, and then That's why there's two capitals on Barcelona. There's a
Rubbing it
B
off.
and an A. The
Filing
B
it
and the
down.
A are both capitalized, and the B slightly
And,
off
and,
one side.
I've
And-
never
and-
watched that
and-
since, and I never will.
and
Not
the
interested.
thing is, right, that was in the middle of the period when Barcelona were being investigated for match fixing.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just typical, isn't it?
Ball
Yeah.
bag that game. Fucking ball bag.
So Rohan, I would take over the two legs myself, Rohan. A lot of people would go for the one-off, BX one-off. Tiger and Gunnar, awesome. Yeah, look, I think that Champions League is something that listen, I just think the club after 2005, I think it was 2006, we got to the final and we lost it. We just didn't have that burning ambition to get back there.
And we beat Real Madrid on the way. Remember?
Real Madrid
Yeah.
on
We
the way.
knocked Real Madrid out of it.
0-0
I'm
and
sure we were
one
favourites that year. I mean, that was our time.
against Barcelona.
That was our time. We were favourites going into
Yeah.
that match. I had 2 bottles of champagne in the fridge ready. And and in the game I was just like, I'm not getting them out of the fridge. They stay there.
They're still there.
Oops. Okay.
Even in the FA Cup game against Liverpool, we battered them in the first half. We played better against the bigger teams than ones that sit back against us. I believe a dominant showing against Porto will send a message. Exactly, BX Gunner. I mean, a dominant win against West Ham has sent the message 6-0. We go out there and Lawrence, you talked about Liverpool and Burnley. And okay, Arsenal have a test on Saturday, but I feel like we've got a lot more control over our opponents to where it'll look different against us. Then Burnley will get a chance to get Liverpool. I feel Liverpool give up chances.
Yeah, but like I said, from what I've seen of Burnley, the league table doesn't lie. But from what I saw of them last week against Liverpool, if they'd been a bit more clinical in front of goal, they may have come away with a point from that game. And when I watched them play against us earlier this season, we couldn't break them down. They had all 10 men behind the ball, and it took a fortuitous goal by Martinelli that he scored in first half stoppage time to give us the lead.
Mm-hmm.
That helped us win the game.
Yeah.
So I'm giving Burnley a lot of respect.
I think
have
to. I think we have to give them that respect because
only won 3 games all season.
As Stan said, we beat Liverpool. We followed it up with a win over West Ham, and here we are again saying Man City demands the what Man City can do in the second half of the season demands that we have to match what they can do potentially, and that doesn't involve dropping points at Turf Moor on Saturday.
That'd be embarrassing.
It would be embarrassing.
That would be embarrassing. Again, it can't. That again. As much as as when I said that going into the West Ham game, if we didn't get 3 points, would undo all of the good work we've done at Liverpool. It's a similar thing with this. If we just done West Ham at their gaff 6-0, and what we're going to get turned over now by fucking Burnley, really? For me, that's a lack of application. There's a problem there.
Yeah.
We should be flying. Players should be chomping at the bit for the next game because winning is infectious. When you're losing, you're like, you get out of bed, you're like, oh fucking, I've got to play again today. Really,
The only time
game like last week, no, you're worried. You got that weight on you, but they should be like, can't wait to see the team sheet to see whether their name's on it.
In these 7 games leading up to the interlull and leading up to Man City, the only acceptable where you don't win would be away at Porto, where maybe you play out a draw of some sort and you take the tie back to the Emirates in good shape. We really need to win these 5 games in the Premier League and keep putting pressure on Man City. So
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting this Saturday because Liverpool are playing the early game again up at Brentford. Then we're playing Burnley, and then Man City are playing the late game. So you could see the 3 different league leaders this weekend.
You could have Liverpool sitting on the top of the pile and they don't win, right? Let's say even if they draw, because we're 2 points behind Liverpool. If they draw and we beat Burnley by a decent score, on goal difference, we're top. And then Man City have an opportunity to go top within a matter of hours again. Within the matter of 5 or 6 hours.
Same points.
You could have 3 leaders. You could have the same points.
We'd have the same points as Man City, right? Because you're on the same points as them now.
Yeah.
But they're above us because of goals scored or goals, something like that.
Liverpool get a point, Stan. They're on 50. I think they're on 55. We win, we're on 55. And City win, they're on 55 as well. So that'd be mad.
Yeah, you're going to have all 3 teams on 55 points.
Yeah, that'd be mad. That'd be mad. And it's, it's possible. Ivan Toney could come back and score against Liverpool. Chelsea, I hope, will give City a game at the Etihad.
You know what? If that happened, we end the season now. When that happens, all teams on the same points, and then we book a triple threat match for the 3 managers. To have
I hope you
threat match. Ladders, chairs, and just fucking go for it. Last man standing.
I think we need to right after this podcast, we need to book a marching band as well for the Emirates as well.
Yeah, and a Red Arrows flyby.
Yeah.
Surf more. Rowan said
them gold pipers.
7 games in the Champions League versus 14 in the Premier League. A favourable draw can really boost our chances in the UEFA Champions League. And 2 of those 7 games are against Porto as well. So, we get through Porto, we're into a quarterfinal where you're 4 games away from a final, 5 games away from winning the goddamn thing.
I don't want to be negative, Nelly, but I just worry that we don't have enough depth to go deep in these 2 competitions. The manager said it himself that we've got a very, very thin squad. And as I said earlier, it's not that they didn't want to add to the squad in January. Fiscally, it just wasn't possible. We just didn't have the dough. Couldn't be done. And we weren't able to sell anybody to free up enough dough to bring anyone in. So I do worry about that being a problem. Because I think Ben White's been playing through injury. Saka's playing through an injury. You got a player like Jesus with his dodgy knee. Tomiyasu, again, another player.
Yeah.
Who is a bit, he comes from that kind of balsa wood fraternity.
Those players could come back, Stan. Critical.
Another one. Thomas Partey, I don't even think about him anymore. It's almost like he's like a bonus. I don't count on nothing anymore. I don't think about him, about being in the team.
We're doubting Thomas right here. Scott Kirk said, "No way, we're an English club and should be paramount to win the Premier League." Just we have won the we have not won the Champions League, and
it puts you in a different conversation to have that under your belt. I think. You know what I'm saying? You can have more conversations with people because they can't use that.
Hey,
we've sat at that time. If you're a golfer, you want that green blazer.
Yeah.
You want to be able to get that green blazer, win the Masters, right? There's other competitions, but you want to be able to go to that meal every year because you got the green blazer, man. I'm allowed in. Just open the doors.
Yeah. We would get hate for winning the Champions League while not winning the Premier League, said Michael.
Well, no, I don't think so.
Well, because we would have bragging rights because we won the Champions League. You know
what I mean? I'd just be, if anyone said to me, like, whoever wins, let's say we won the Champions League and Team X, pick from 3, won the Premier League, and they're like, yeah, we're the best team in England. I could just turn around and say, yeah, well, we're the best team in fucking Europe. So rest, fall back. You know, that that would be great to have that on our CV. Finish second in the Premier League and win the Champions League. I'd take that.
Yeah,
I would take that.
to do a double would be pretty difficult to do. UCL, you always need a favorable draw and to being clinical as well. You need a little bit of luck as well. Let's face it. If you're gonna go far in this Champions League, you're gonna need a little bit of a slice of luck as well. It hurt in 2006 because Wenger didn't win it too. Definitely, it hurt because Arsenal didn't win it as well. The Fairs Cup is not a Europa League because you could only join if the city was twinned with other cities. Okay, I don't know.
The Fairs Cup was the original Europa League.
Right.
Okay. Look, if you check Wikipedia, I'm sorry.
Wasn't it also like another version of the UEFA Cup?
UEFA.
Yeah,
That's the Europa League.
It first started up as the Fairs Cup, then they changed it to the UEFA Cup, and then they changed it to the Europa League.
Right. That's that cleared up, Brandy. Champions League is the pinnacle. That's the trophy that will make us an elite club that the league will follow. Yeah, I want Champions League so we can get the monkey off our back. Tiger and Gunnar, exactly right. You know, a club, Lawrence, a club of Arsenal stature. So many times in Europe, we should have won it by now.
Cup Winners' Cup as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be
in Europe.
Should have won more. You know, like I remember the Chelsea game in Azerbaijan that we bottled when we lost the penalties to Galatasaray. You know, we could have had a larger stack of European trophies had we set our mind about it.
Yeah. Good point.
You know, 10 minutes away from winning the biggest prize in European football.
Yeah.
I still can't get over that.
No. And the way it happened was a jammy shot or cross goes in off Almunia's legs, you know. And how many times is it going to happen where a goalkeeper is forced to make a challenge like that 10 minutes into the game? Doesn't happen very often, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I also forgot when we lost to Valencia on penalties in Belgium in 1980 when Graham Rix missed the final kick.
The one that hurt me most was
I say something. As an Arsenal supporter, that is one of my most that is my first kind of real Arsenal moment in my life that I really remember so vividly because it was when my mum had bought me a portable television, black and white one, when portable tellies had kind of come out from my bedroom, you know. Stop watching stuff with your crap in here. You can watch this now. And the game was on. And I remember saying to my mum, like, can I watch this on the colour TV? And she's like, no, we bought you that TV. You got to watch it. And it was, you know, I was sat on my bed in my full kit, my football boots and everything, you know, watching this game. At that particular time, Graham Rix was my favourite player. He was my favourite player at that time. And when he missed that penalty, I just burst into tears. I must have been like 10 years old. And my mum had obviously been watching it in the front room because she came, as soon as he missed a penalty and I started crying, she came in and she was like, come on now. I was like, you must have been watching it then. She was obviously watching it because she was nervous for me. But it's just one of my first real vivid memories of being an Arsenal supporter. That and the one before that is the Willie Young tackle in the FA Cup.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah. Going back to that Valencia game, that was Liam Brady's last game for us.
That's right.
And had he scored his penalty, we'd have won that. We'd have won the Cup Winners' Cup. And this was the Valencia team that had Mario Kempes in it.
Yeah. 68, 78. So
I'm the youngest one.
12 years old. Primary school. 12 years old. Last year in my primary school.
Yeah, I was 21.
I'm the youngest one on this podcast. Yeah, listen, I don't remember that
Shame
one.
how Graham Ricks turned out, though. That's another
Huh?
story. It's
What's
shame
that?
how Graham Ricks turned out, though. Another story.
Rowan said we built that on defense, and that's our strong suit now too. We are the best defense in the league, going into Europe as well. Hopefully, it stands us in good stead. Maybe we get some great luck and go through to Champions League quarterfinals, semis, and Dreamland maybe. And if we take care of Porto, we'll be talking about Champions League in April, and things will be bubbling up very nicely then. There's blood in the water, and the lads look hungry. Considering we're out of domestic cups, we can do it. Yeah. Listen, it's a bit of a shame we're out of domestic cups. I really think we should have beaten that Liverpool team in the FA Cup. We had all the chances to do it. I hate to
Distant
even
memory if you win the Champions League.
Huh?
You know what I mean, distant memory if you win the Champions
Yeah.
League.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, like,
Yeah.
it might be a silver
We've got out of the
lining.
groups. We've not been in this competition for a long time, and we got out the groups, and we've done it in quite convincingly.
We did.
Really, you know.
Yeah.
The final is in Wembley.
Yeah, we should have. Wembley.
Right. Our defense got us to the final.
We should have taken West Ham. We should have taken care of West Ham in the League Cup as well. I can't believe we lost to them in that competition.
And that's when Stan chose the dark side. Arteta wins in the cups. I wish he would win more in the cups, but I'm sort of, I don't know. I'm sort of willing to say there was extenuating circumstances against some of those cups, which I'm not entirely favorable towards, but it happens.
At the end of the day, right, we want to be able to rotate. And we're just not in a similar situation as Man City, that when we rotate most of our starting 11, the players that come in, they're just not as good.
Yeah.
They're not as good, are they, really?
Did you see that?
You know, you look at Man City and they have like people like Mahrez sat on the bench, for fuck's sake. Mahrez can walk into any team. He could be a starter. And, getting at that's the difference.
They showed the bench. Yeah, they showed the bench on last weekend. They showed the bench. There's Kevin De Bruyne sitting there beside Jack Grealish.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And Mahrez doesn't play for Man City anymore.
I wasn't going to point
Mahrez doesn't play for.
He moved on in the summer.
And to Mahrez, okay, doesn't play. Okay, but they've still got good players, right?
Yeah.
They still have really good players that could walk into any team. And to an extent, Liverpool have that in their attack area. And we're so thin. And we're still managing to keep up. That's what's amazing me. That we don't have the resources that these other teams around us have at their disposal. I mean, we rely so much on Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli to all be fit. And not only be fit, to be on form at the same time. So stuff happens. Because if they're not, especially in the Jesus, Eddie's not going to do nothing. And if something happens to Saka, it's going to be really interesting to see what the manager would have to do, having his hand forced in that way, because we've not been down that avenue yet. We've not been there. We don't know what life is like without Saka at the moment. It's not like Liverpool. We can see what life is like without Salah. They're still managing to be competitive. But what's life like for Arsenal without Salah, without Saka? Touch wood, it never happens.
Yeah, well, isn't Nelson the cover for Saka?
He is.
For how long? If there was something happened to him, he was out for 2 months. That's a big drop off.
There are things we could do. Yeah, there are things we could do. Jesus could move over to the right with Trossard playing that false 9 position. Havertz could come in there. Nelson could play on the right. So, God forbid if Saka does have an injury, that we do have Gabriel Jesus and Nelson could deputize.
Hope so.
get, as you were saying earlier, Rohan's picking up on the injuries here. Get Tommy, Timber, Partey back, and Jesus fit. We deserved that after last year's injuries. So, we're in a situation last season where we had dreadful injuries, and hopefully we get those players back, and they can add to our drive toward the end of the season as well.
I really don't want us to rush Timber back, and I'm really worried that we've only seen a very small snapshot of this guy, a young man who's come from the Eredivisie. And you have to remember, like, here he is coming to a big team in London like Arsenal, and we've only seen a very small snapshot of him, although it looked quite promising. When you come to a big club, you're full of piss and vinegar, aren't you? You're so excited. You want to show everyone what you can do. And I'm not picking on you, Ray, but I'm going to use Nuno Tavares as a similar example. When he got, he had to play a few games in a row because Kieran Tierney was out, and he looked good because he's very quick, very lively. We've got that new shiny toy. But I remember, though, when Kieran Tierney was available again, people were like, no, he should stay in. And then look where he is now. I know. That was your first entry on the list, Ray. That was your first entry on the list. But what I'm saying is, like, let's not do the same thing with Timber. Let's allow him to get into the team, because at some point, right, he's going to plateau. You come in with all that piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
But at some point, you then find, what is your level. So I don't want us to be, overly reliant on him. He's a young man, and we've only seen 45 minutes, if that, of him. Really, it was very promising, playing in a position that he's not usually plays in. What is he, a centre back that can play at right back? And we looked at him as a left back. Is he competition for Saliba?
Yeah.
Is he competition for Ben White?
We don't know.
Exactly.
We don't have enough. We don't have enough.
I'm happy to sit back and see how it plays out with him without any prejudgment.
Michael said Raya's good with his feet. Play him on the left. LOL. Might get Ramsdale in the team then, Lawrence. Tiger and Gunnar said, I might have seen play Raya, fly left back. I might have seen you, Moss, in Baku, says Tiger and Gunnar. Have we any lone players who we can call back? Eesh.
Brownie's comment: will Tony still want Rob Holding selected for the first 11 for the UCL final? Probably.
Rob Holding? I thought it was like Callum Chambers, right?
I think we could call Runnison back.
You like a bit of Runnerson there, Lawrence. You like a bit of Runnerson.
Oh, I love it. You can't live with yourself without a piece of Runnison.
Right. So I think we've established there that we only have 7 games to get to the. It sounds easy, Stan. 7 games to get to a Champions League final and win it. We have to go through Porto. Then we have to play a decent team, and then we have to play an even better team in the semi-final.
Porto, you got to remember as well, Porto are there playing us because they deserve to be there.
Yeah,
they're no mugs. They're no mugs, and we have been knocked out of competitions by Portuguese teams before, and it's such a shame because ideally you would think this would be an ideal game for someone like Teabag to be fit and ready for. He's played in Portugal. He knows how to play against these teams. He's just not available. He's another one that we can't rely on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I did see a tweet saying he's trying to be ready for the Porto game. I did see that tweet. He's trying to be ready for the Porto game. Let's go. Rohan had a couple of comments there. It started with Michael here. And Xhaka's doing all right, isn't he? In the Bundesliga under Xavi Alonso.
Yeah.
And following on from that, Rowan said we should have kept Xhaka and spent on Tony in the summer. I think that leads into what he was saying about acquiring Ivan Tony.
But here's the thing, though, with Xhaka. As I understand it, it was one of these deals. It was one of these deals where, there was talk about him leaving before, and it's not because maybe he wanted to leave, but you know, he's got a family, his missus, they're from
Oh.
Germany. And, you know, he probably turned around to his missus and said, look, I know that I said that we'd only be here for 3 years. I'm going to pick a number, but, you know, there's something going on there. You know, let me do another one. And then we'll go. And she's like, all right, then. And maybe that conversation happened twice. So I'm getting that more than once. It happened again. So I think it was a case of, it wasn't a case that we were like showing Xhaka the door. I think it was a case of like, Xhaka was like, I'm definitely going to have to go this time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it was more his decision. And I think it was about going back to Germany specifically than us saying like, see you later, we're done with you. So I don't think I think that the way that it was kind of going with Xhaka in that last season, I think that Edu and Arteta are so lazy and convenient at times that if they had the option to have kept Xhaka, they would have. Now the problem is for me is it's not that we miss Granit Xhaka. For me, the problem is that he was never adequately upgraded on.
Right.
Because had he been adequately upgraded on, we wouldn't even be talking about Granit Xhaka.
Yeah, but I think
memory, because we'd all be about this other person who was better than what Granit Xhaka was in that last season, and we'd be waxing lyrical about him, which would mean he'd been adequately upgraded on. So that's where we have failed. So hence we're still going to think, oh, we want Granit, we miss Granit. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, and I think it was more a case of trying to adapt to the different talents that Rice brings to the table, and not
and
having.
Can I just say as well, with what I just said about Xhaka and leaving, I think it's the same thing with Klopp. You know, Klopp come over to England, to Liverpool with his missus and a family for an initial contract, and I think that contract gets renewed a couple of times. And sometimes if you have to sit down and go, look, do you miss? Like, I know I said we were going to only be here for this, but this is going on, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And they go, all right, we'll do it. But there's only so many times you can do it. At some point, do you know what I mean? You have to say, right, we're going back home now. And I think that's a similar thing what's happened with Klopp and his missus Ula. As I understand it, that there's been a couple of times where he was considering not renewing, and the club managed to talk them around. I don't know if it, you know what I mean? When I mean talk them around, I don't know if they would talk the couple round or they just talk Klopp around, but these things happen. You get talked around again and you think, all right. But at some point, you've got to go home.
As Brownie says, you may be right, Stan. People don't realize just how much home life dictates players moving or not, you know? And we're enjoying, you know, what Granit Xhaka is doing in the Bundesliga.
I'm over watching it. Okay.
Just from the angle of Harry Kane, you know, let's bring it back to Harry Kane a little bit again. Harry Kane, he's Tottenham. He's like, this is a sure thing. I'm going to Bayern Munich. You just have to turn up on the doorstep.
Right hand saying, stands in a group chat with the wags. I'm not. I'm just in a group chat, and it's just me and Rebecca Vardy. She tells me everything. She knows everything, so it's just me. She just tells me everything.
Allegedly, yeah. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, he goes to Bayern Munich. He's like, all right, I'll have a winner's medal. Give me 12 months, I'll have a winner's medal or two.
And it's the same story, isn't it? He's still getting personal awards. He's still scoring and getting personal, you know, accolades. Yes. But the team's been shot. It's like Groundhog Day for the lad, isn't it? I bet he must wake up sometimes in the morning in a cold sweat, and then a few seconds he realizes that he's not at Tottenham. You know, you know, and it's still like fuck, because it's like this. It's the same shit. Like it's like, did I dream that I signed for Bayern Munich? Did that really happen? Am I still really at Tottenham? Yeah. I just dreamt all of that. It's a really realistic dream, detailed.
Xhaka loved Arsenal last season. He was a man.
Eric Dyer, though. Why did they sign Eric Dyer? Come on. Come on.
Inspiring story of how one can turn it around.
You're Thomas Tickle. You're Tommy Tickles, right? You're supposed to be a top draw manager, and you go out and sign a player that looks like a copper.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Eric Dyer, he looks like a copper. He does. He looks like a copper. He's just missing like that, the body face and the white shirt. He's just like a popular London copper.
there's no money. There's no money in Europe anymore. So the money's in the Premier
You
League.
get Eric Dyer.
Right? You go out and get Eric Dyer, and you call yourself. You say, "We'll get by in this German league. We'll get by in this German league." We'll
I have a
win it
question.
with
I
Eric Dyer.
just remember, talking about players that have kind of been out in the wind and that. It is one. And I heard them talking about it on Talk Sport. And I was like, I was thinking about, you hear someone talking about it, I was thinking the same thing because I watch a lot of highlights, living in Canada. I love watching Match of the Day and Match of the Day 2. And I'll tell you a player that is really looking like he's really kind of like trying to turn things around and work hard. Ross Barkley.
Yeah. Alonso mentioned Ross Barkley as well.
Ross Barkley, man, is like, I think that he has got how can your Jordan Henderson be considered ahead of Ross Barkley at the moment? I'm not having it. Ross Barkley looks like, he's always been a good player.
Gareth Southgate, you're not Gareth Southgate.
He was a really good prospect for ages, good at Everton, wasn't he? In the England team, and then he kind of like went off the rails a little bit. I don't know what it was, lack of application. I don't know, outside influences and that. Yeah. But there he is playing at a very small club, in the scheme of things.
Well, and
he's keeping him. He's like their engine, man. Yeah. He's all over it. He's all over it.
It's funny. It's funny how the trajectory of players' careers can go downhill. You were telling me about Sunderland Until I Die. It's on the third season. I was already watching it on Netflix. And there was a player of Sunderland who featured for Man City. He was in the Man City team, and you see him coming onto the field for Pellegrini.
He went to Celtic. He went to Celtic as well.
He went to Celtic. He was loaned all over the place.
Number 77.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, Tanner's in the chat here. He said the only trophy Harry Kane will kiss this season is a cannon, and they have to paint it red in the colors of Bayern and Arsenal, right? That would be a picture we want to keep.
All right, Tanner.
It went downhill when Kane left Arsenal, came back, and he might come back and he might win something. Yeah. He thought Lawrence, it had to be so easy for Harry Kane this summer. I'm going to Bayern and I'm going to win medals. I'm going to win trophies. And it doesn't look like it's happening.
Don't work like that, mate. Football gods ain't having it.
How many points are they behind Leverkusen?
5.
Is it 5?
Yeah.
5 points behind Leverkusen. They got knocked out of the German Cup as well by someone I've never heard of. So, yeah, it's all looking good. It's Spurs to...
Who? Bochum. Was it Bochum?
I've been to Bochum, mate. So shit.
All right.
Yeah. So, he's brought his Spurs stuff to Germany.
Extra strength Spurs stuff.
Brilliant.
Bayern just aren't the same without the speech to Canadian baller Alfonso Moss representing there. Ross Barkley gives me Ray Parlour vibes. Yeah.
I mean, look, if I had the opportunity to have in our team now either Kai Havertz or Ross Barkley, just looking at what I've been seeing over the past like so many months or whatever, Ross Barkley all the way, mate. At the minute.
Look, we talked about it earlier. Luton are putting up a better defense of staying in the Premier League than Burnley are, or even Sheffield United. They're the team who had to win the playoffs. They had to win a playoff competition to get into the Premier League. They didn't have the privilege of getting automatic promotion. They had to fight tooth and nail. And it took them a few games. They took a few beatings. But right about Christmas time, they started fighting back, and they gave Arsenal a real shock. We were lucky to get that win there in the 97th minute. But, those are the kind of wins that could add up to something for us this season. Barkley's been good on Luton. Chelsea, Man United, my theory stands that they ruin great young players. Chelsea, Man United, interesting. Yeah. Southgate has his love, boys. Michael's transferring. What a Bayern shit.
look at Henderson, right? He hard-tailed it out of Saudi Arabia after saying that he was going there to help football be better and all of that. That didn't last long. Realised that he couldn't, left after whatever it is. And I don't think Ajax have won a game yet since he's been there. Yeah, he's probably still going to get picked to play for England.
Yeah, they scraped a draw tonight against Bodo Glimt in their Conference League, didn't they? Which they were losing 2-0, and they scored twice in stoppage time at the end.
Ajax.
Yeah.
So Nigel is a Liverpool fan. He's been in here a few times around Christmas and before. Lawrence, how confident are you that Arsenal could win the Premier League this year?
Throw
a percentage on it.
I would say, God, I would say 50%.
50, that's high.
Well,
higher or lower?
I think we've got a shot. I think we've got a shout.
Okay.
Hi, hello. I sound like Bruce Forsyth, mate, playing fucking a game of cards.
I think we've got a shout.
Right,
it's going to be tough, but we've got a shout.
Brucey. Higher or lower than 50? I'd go lower. Yeah, I'd go about 15 to 20% is our chances, I think. We have to overcome two teams, Klopp on his swan song and Pep Guardiola. We have to go to places like Old Trafford, Tottenham, and the Etihad. So it won't be easy for the last 15 games. But I think what's vitally important is to win these next 5 games coming up to the City game.
So here's how I would answer Nigel's question. I would say that Arsenal probably has more chance of winning the Champions League this year than Liverpool has.
Nigel,
win it. You got to be in it to win it, right?
Nigel, I think there's more chance of us winning it than Tottenham.
You can say that with 100% certainty as well, Lawrence. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So Stan, where are you? You're somewhere in between 50 and 15, right?
Well, I think, as I say, I do think that we've got. It probably would be. As I say, it's easy. I think it's easier to win the Champions League than the Premier League.
Okay.
Because it's trying to get to like a knockout stage, right? And we've got out of the group. It's every team has on their day can have a good day, right? It can happen. So
yeah.
And it's the one that I want as well. It just gives that little gold star.
You're the one that I want.
That little stamp.
Ooh. One that I want.
Yeah.
Football with Brownie said, remember, lads, when you win the playoffs, you also have a month less than the automatic promoted teams in the transfer market because you don't know what league you're playing in. Yeah, and you're involved in the playoffs as well. Everything in life is 50-50. Either it happens or it doesn't. LOL. We have a better shot than Chelsea this season to win it. Or Romford, apparently. Poor Romford. Yeah, Greece. Bringing Greece back. I didn't know where that was from, but it just hit me. BX,
I think there's going to be a lot of spending this summer. It was quiet in January, but I think this summer it's going to be big. Because if we've done what we've done, as I mentioned before, we've done a deal where we can, through Barclays Bank, we can it's like overdrawing. We've got the projected money that's going to come in through the TV rights. And we've done this before, as I understand it, where you can overdraw on that money with a bank and say, look, this is what we've got coming in, but we need this now. We need this number now. And if you give us this number now, we'll pay you back with X amount of interest. It's like overdrawing. And apparently we've already pulled that financial lever for next season, which tells me that there's something going on for the summer. It's not going to be like, well, we need to sell to buy. There is going to be a pot, or as they like to call it in the media, a war chest available.
I believe that Ivan Toney is still in the picture for the summertime. That's what I would believe. And now there's not a lot of strikers out there that would fit the bill. But Ivan Toney would be one, and Osman would be another. And
I've changed my mind. I think I'd take Tony over Osimhen now. Do you remember I was talking about? I thought Osimhen was like,
yeah,
shopping in Harrods like we did for Declan Rice. I used that analogy. Once you've shopped in Harrods and you bought a Declan Rice, where are you going to shop in a Marks and Spencers or British Home Stores? Even though they're good stores, they're not Harrods. But looking at Osimhen in the AFCON, and yes, he has been playing in the Italian league, right?
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that he's going to be able to do it. Lukaku looks good in the Italian league, doesn't he? He doesn't look good in the English league.
Yeah.
And even though he's got more age on his side compared to Tony knows this league. So I think I'm kind of swaying, and I'm kind of like coming over towards you now, that if I had to make that choice, I would probably go for Tony, because I think that's probably where you're going to get the results quicker as well, which is what we need.
Mm-hmm. And look, Ivan Toney is 27.
I believe I've said all of that. But
I think he's 27, 28 years old.
28.
You're still going to have a 3 or 4 year window with Ivan Toney in your team.
Yeah.
If that's the case. Tanner said, hey, Stan, war chest for a new Frenchman. We kind of covered that a little bit earlier with Mbappe, but that'd be a hell of a war chest.
Yeah, that ain't a war chest. That's like, like a sunken galleon.
It's a ship.
Spanish galleon with loads of like gold on it, and you got a fucking. That's like Oak Island. Finding the treasure on Oak Island. You're like, what are you gonna do with that treasure? You're like, sign Kylian Mbappe. You're like, oh right. Thought he was gonna go and feed the starving. You're like, no.
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry, Kylian Mbappe.
You gotta have 2 pirate ships full of bullion for that war chest. That's a war aircraft carrier, says Stan, or says Tanner.
Do you think Mikel Arteta?
I quite like the look of Vlahovic as well.
Vlahovic, yeah.
There's Dominic Solanke again, another player that's kind of ploughing his way along in this league. Ollie Watkins is another one that looks comfortable in this league. There's that guy over in the Eredivisie. What's his name? Jimenez, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure though, because the Eredivisie is a very different league. I mean, the defenders ain't top notch. It's quite easy to score goals.
No, Marcus, right? Sorry,
no way. No. I'm done with taking cast off.
I think he's part of what. Nothing against him, but I think he's part of what's wrong at Man United. Lawrence,
yeah.
You have something.
I was just saying before you talking about possible signings. Do you think Mikel Arteta will go out and bring in a big name, or do what he's known to do, bring in some unknowns from, Brazil?
Well, he brought in Gabriel Jesus. He brought in Zinchenko.
I think he wants Premier League ready players. I think he's even said that. I think that's his preference. Yeah. And, like what you're saying there, Lawrence, another kid from Brazil who's doing keepy uppy barefoot with watermelons. He looks promising. Can bring him in as a prospect, right? And farm him out, see how he does. We struck with Martinelli, didn't strike with Marquinhos, unfortunately. So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones
I think if he's going to bring in like a headliner, someone that's going to be looking to start or be on the first 11, I think he's going to. The more I think about it, I think that Tony's probably the one that's in the frame, just for the fact that he's going to be able to watch him for the rest of this season, and it looks like he's hitting the ground running after that lengthy spell out. And if he continues to build on that, I think he's the one that Mikel will go for.
Yeah,
and it'll be hard. And it will be hard to disagree with him. If he's patchy, then you could say, "Well, hold on a minute. He's not. Is there someone else we could be looking at, and we could have a discussion?" But if he hits the ground running between now and the end of the season, and he's a regular in the back of the net, he's got to be the one, isn't he?
Let's just say Ivan Toney with 1 year left on his contract, which is what he's going to come up to in the summer. Brentford are a club who have dealt with us in the past with Raya. We have a good working relationship. We give Ivan Toney a 4-year contract, amortize it 80 million over 4 years. We stump up 20 some million a year. I wouldn't be against that, and that would probably be very affordable.
Would you take Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa?
He would be an Eddie Nketiah upgrade
Yeah,
for me.
someone that could be like a backup and be given the opportunity to fight, to be knocking on the door for starts, which Eddie doesn't seem to do. Right, Eddie doesn't do that.
Sell Eddie Nketiah for 30 million. I doubt if you get Watkins, it would be difficult. He is an Arsenal fan. Ollie Watkins is an Arsenal fan. They're on the same wages. They're on the same wages. Huh?
Mbappe's in. That said, they're all Arsenal fans. Mbappe's
Mbappe's wearing an Arsenal shirt right now as we speak. Michael said Brentford.
Little boy.
Brentford, yes, the Van Persie. Brentford bought a new Brazilian to replace Tony, so they're preparing for life without Tony. Keep him in the division, though. They're going to need Ivan Toney to keep them in the division, which they're well capable of doing. I earned a few points off them last week as well. Brentford. Sell both our strikers and make room for Mika Biereth, Jonathan David, and Zerki or Jimenez. I'm not sure. We put faith in players like Patino and Biereth and send them out on loan. I'm not actually sure what the plan is going to be for players like that. Young players who have gone out on loan. Do you see, Lawrence, Patino coming into the Arsenal midfield in the next 2 years?
I haven't seen much of Patino. I saw him make his debut in the League Cup against Sunderland where he scored. And I saw when Swansea played
he's been doing well
in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
He did do well that game. I mean, Bournemouth beat Swansea 5-0.
Yeah.
And he was virtually anonymous in that game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been hearing he's a bright prospect. But I've heard it so many times before. Oh, look at this kid. He's going to be a bright prospect for us, and nothing ever happens of him.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know how committed Mikel Arteta and how committed Arsenal are to younger players, knowing that we're fighting at the top level here. We're talking about being probably the third best team in Europe in the Champions League, and maybe the second best team in the Premier League. So you got fine margins, and I don't know if you can introduce younger players into that environment unless they're, as Arsene Wenger would say, super, super high quality. Moss said, I wouldn't mind Tony if reasonable price. And we're probably looking at 75, 80 million. Brentford have supposedly already agreed terms with Tony's replacement. So the conversation can start if it hasn't already started, because clubs do talk to each other throughout the year. It doesn't just happen within 1 month in January and 3 months in the summer. The clubs are talking constantly about players. And Lawrence, just quickly, remember back in the day, it used to be a very public Arsenal versus Chelsea fight for a player in the papers. You don't hear that anymore. You hear about a player just going to one club because all of that uncertainty has been taken away through back channels and agents talking to players. So you don't really have those transfer battles anymore. The likes of Essien, wasn't Essien about to turn up at Tottenham and he ended up at Chelsea?
No, it was.
No, that was William.
It was William.
Yeah, he was. Tottenham paid for his taxi, and he told the driver to go to Chelsea.
No, but we done the same thing with Emmanuel Petit.
Yeah. Same thing with happened.
Only about a month ago, I was listening to him on Talk Sport, and they asked him about it, and he said that he went to Tottenham. He had a meeting with Mr. Levy, as he said, and they went, had a discussion. And he said that he wanted to think about it. And as he came out, the taxi was waiting to take him to his hotel from Tottenham. And his agent called and says, "Have you decided anything yet?" And he went, "No, why?" And he goes, "Because Arsenal want to talk to you." So he got in the car that they'd paid to take, to take him from Tottenham to the hotel. And he said to the driver, "You take me to Arsenal."
Hey, Stan,
and he signed for
Stan,
us.
I think Alan Sugar was the chairman of Tottenham back then, not Levy.
Maybe,
And,
sorry.
More recently, Tommy Asu turned down Tottenham as well to go to Arsenal, and more 2 or 3 years ago as well.
Alan Sugar, yeah, of course.
Maybe we can throw in Ramsdale with Tony. Get me Rafinha. VX Gunners intent on Rafinha. That ship might have sailed there. BX Jose. Jonathan David, a big Canadian gooner. Didn't Mudrick wear an Arsenal shirt? Yeah. All last year.
Arsenal shirts.
I think he's got an Arsenal tattoo, Mudrick. Didn't he?
That's embarrassing in the showers. Over there. Caribbean boys always love Martinek, Thierry Henry. Mika Biret been banging goals. Arteta looked at him in Dubai. Seriously. Okay. I hope there's a situation where these younger players can be integrated. On the stoop, Lolo's in the house. Welcome, Lolo. I hope there's a situation where we can integrate these young players into Arsenal in the coming years. Patino, Birat, players like that.
It's such a big step, isn't it? I mean, you got to think. Let's really look at it. The only two players that have really made it into the team is of recent times. Well, 3, isn't there? Or 4.
Yeah.
Reece Nelson doesn't get a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
Eddie Nketiah, not really making a name for himself. Seems to be the backup to the backups. Saka is the standout, obviously. He's not called Starboy for nothing.
Yeah.
But then the other one that we had hoped for was Emil Smith Rowe, which kind of still looks like the jury is out a little bit.
Oh,
I just don't understand that. I think that we must have a gap between that sort of 18 and a half to sort of 20-year-old age.
Yeah.
That these ones that we know about, like the Enwaris and the Waters or what have you, and the Sellies and the whatever yous, they kind of seem to be around about 16, almost 17. And I don't think that Arsenal play with kids that age. You got to do a bit more.
Yeah.
And we seem to have a gap, don't we, at that sort of 19, sort of 20.
Yeah, we're at a level we're at a level stand where our fans are saying, "Well, look over at City, they're playing this guy. Why aren't we playing our guy?"
And and that's because we have this. I think we have this kind of gap.
Age gap. Yeah.
So what do we do? We waste money on players like Tavares, Lokonga, Marquinhos to try and fill that gap, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So I understand that people call for the youngsters, but if they're not in that proper,
it would have been nice.
That area, it's a big step up.
Yeah. On Saturday we saw one area come on as well and play well for quite a few minutes in the game, integrated well on that inside left channel. It was a pity that Cedric came on and Rule Walters couldn't have been the person over Cedric to come on. Cedric's still clinging on in there, Stan. Hanging. Yeah. His nails are dug in. He's white knuckling.
Well, I mean, he's probably got a family to support, and maybe that when he goes to that next club, he's not going to get as big a wage.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a job. It's a job, right? This is a job at the end of the day
for them. Yeah.
There's a whole. Listen, I think about it, and I've done a Cedric before. I've worked at places where I was long past my sell-by date and hung in there. It's man's got to pay bills.
Exactly.
And buy beer.
And B, hopefully he's good in dressing room. Hopefully Cedric is and around the place. Michael said there's a whole clutch of homegrown players in the squad, and if we sell them, it's classed as profit in financial fair play. And we did move a few on there in January. We turned a little bit of a profit on one of the players. I think went to Aston Villa. Dream summer window would be Theo Hernandez, Rafinha, and De Jong. Probably names that aren't gonna hit though.
Well, there's a lot of talk, right, about some really good players that could be available, right? Because De Jong, there's been talk for over a season now about them wanting to move him on for wages reasons, but him saying, I like it here. I want to make my name. But he's not getting used. He's not getting used as much as he would like. So he looks like he's open. And he's always said that, that his pathway would, from Ajax was always, Arsenal, Barcelona. He's looking at the pathway of other players that have played at Arsenal and the clubs that he likes, right? And, Arsenal still hasn't been crossed off. So there's a lot of people hoping that there could be something there. But the other one that I like the sound of, I don't know how you guys would think about it, because we do seem pretty settled in the centre of our defence, is that I've been reading a lot of stuff. And again, it could be all clickbait, but they're saying that Matthias de Ligt is not getting enough game time and is really unhappy at the minute.
Yeah.
He's really unhappy at the minute. With is it Tommy Tickle, isn't it? He's over there, isn't he, with Tommy Tickle, and he's not being used. And he again could be looking.
He's at Bayern, right? Yeah, de Ligt is at Bayern.
Arsenal are very keen on him, and again, that would cost money. But I mean, if you buy a Matthias de Ligt, who's he coming in for? Gabriel Megalegs? Is he coming to sit on the bench and play the third guy? I doubt it.
Yeah, you need to find that central. You need to find that central defender who is happy enough to sit on the bench for 20 games of a season. You know what I mean?
Can I throw in a couple of names?
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot over the last few days that Arsenal are very interested in signing Pedro Neto and Cunha from Wolves.
Yeah.
Cunha, really?
I'm interested in both of them.
The Neto stuff. I've seen the Neto stuff floating around. Didn't know about the Cunha.
Yeah, the Neto stuff seems to be a constant.
Right? I mean, I wouldn't mind having those two for competition in the midfield.
Well, Neto would be good competition for Saka, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, you can see what now that you can see Martinelli's starting to see that Trossard could be competition for his place. It seems to be improving him.
Yeah.
Competition is healthy.
100%.
Martinelli gets dropped. He's on the bench. He comes off the bench. What does he do? He sticks one away.
We need to get that
That's the environment you want. Yeah. It doesn't have that.
When you look at City, we saw the pictures of City, and they're scrolling through that bench, Stan and Lawrence, and they're showing Grealish sitting alongside Kevin De Bruyne. You need to have that at Arsenal as well. If we're going to be the biggest and the best for however long it's going to be.
Remember what I said about Hector Bellerin, knowing that there's nobody else. You find yourself in the middle of a game having a stinker, and you make a pact to yourself that you'll do better next week. I really hope that doesn't happen to Saka, because he knows that if him and Reece Nelson are both fit, he knows he's getting picked. There's no one. Do you know what I mean? There's no one that Mikel feels even safe. Like, I'm not taking you out because you're shit. I'm taking you out to give you a breather. He won't even do that, because he knows what he's going to put in his mind is a huge drop off. So we need that competition on the right for Saka, just to keep Saka playing at that high level. We don't want him to slip into that Bellerin mode of finding himself having a stinker and saying, I'll fucking kick it next week. Next week comes around. You know what I'm getting at? I don't want to see that.
But Stan, do you think some of that part is what's there, right? Is with your heart, your drive to.
I'm not saying that's his personality. I don't know. I've never spoke to the guy. But what I'm saying is there is that danger when you know that you've got no one kicking behind you in a position,
Yeah.
it's very easy then to become complacent.
Yeah.
Not
And-
meaningfully. Do you know what I'm getting at? Because there's no one,
And
there's no one in training, and the manager's going, "Well done, Roy," and you're thinking,
Yeah.
"Fuck, Roy's coming for me." Man.
the
There's no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The demands on players now, they're adding more and more games to internationals. The big players are playing so many more games that, I think you have a lot of players who say, I'm going to coast in this game and I'm going to be at 60% in this game. And if you have too many players that do that, you can get turned over in the Premier League very easily, the demands on the players now are pushing it to where some of these players will probably say, well, I'm going to Burnley at the weekend. Am I going to be up for this game? Because I've got to be ready for England International in spring, in March, later this month. You know what I mean? Or next month.
If you are playing a football in the Premier League and you are joint points with Man City and a couple of points behind Liverpool,
yeah,
and you can't get yourself up for the next league game, then just stroll on.
Do one. Just do one. Yeah.
Do one, man. Because if that isn't motivation, that you're in touching distance of the biggest prize.
I think, as we said, it could be a madness on Saturday where 3 teams by the evening are locked on 55 points, 53 points.
Just walked off the pitch, right? 6-0. You should be chomping at the bit to get back on the pitch. I bet when they blew the whistle at West Ham, they were like, "Oh, really? Winning is infectious. You don't want to stop." When you're getting beat every week, that's when it's hard to get out of bed and put on a performance.
As we were saying,
you don't want to be that one again that fucks everything up for everyone because you're going through a shit time. Everyone's flying at the minute.
Yeah, we could be in a situation where Liverpool draw on Saturday morning and the other 2 teams win, and they're all locked on 55 points. And there's a big gap to the next team, Lawrence. So whatever donkey gets into 4th place, Tottenham or Aston Villa. Like I said, there used to be a standard of buying players to develop with us, your Van Persies, but the money is so tight, we're still improving our first 15. Yeah, we're still improving our first 15 in the squad because we had a pretty bad squad to start with, and not every one of our acquisitions have been stellar. So stay tuned for more on that in the coming weeks. We will be talking about that in coming close to an international break.
In detail.
Upamecano is a donkey in defense. 100% BX Deschamps is the jump for going up.
I mean, it's crazy though. But isn't it crazy how a player's stock can fall? Someone just said that Upamecano is a donkey in defense. Maybe 3 seasons ago, I was all over him. He was like the next. He was like the next best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
But players go through phases, and I think one of the biggest example of that it's all about environment, because we went out and got Willian on a free transfer, and we paid him a good salary, made him comfortable. He didn't have to move to a new league. He was playing in the same league. He didn't have to move from his house. He was living in London, so there was no uprooting. And he's come to Arsenal, and for whatever reason, Mikel Arteta and his coaching staff could not get a tune out of him. They couldn't get a melody. They couldn't get nothing out of him at all. And what does he do? He goes to another club in the same city. So he hasn't uprooted. He's still in London. And look at him playing South London. Again, I watch a lot of the the highlights and stuff, and he's catching my eye. When I watch Fulham play, he catches the eye. It's about environment. I mean, why could we not get that out of him? But they can.
Yeah,
that's the question. Sure. If you could answer that question, that you'd have it made.
Yeah, exactly. I was laughing about Deschamps and reminding myself of when he met Saliba. he was almost like he couldn't believe his luck. Here's Saliba. He's looking up to him like this when Deschamps met Saliba. And he's like, how stacked is that French team now for defenders? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've got good
Very.
ones. Didier did do a lot of winning through Saskia Gunnar. Cheers, Tanner's on his way. Cheers, Tanner, for stopping by. If Saliba starts for France this summer, they'll be a finalist. Yeah. Again, that's what I said. They're stacked. I wasn't reading the head, BX. Great minds think alike, right? Up in Meccano, nowhere near Saliba.
You never know, though, right? Maybe France will play in a way that might not suit Saliba. You have to think about these things. You know, we just looked at Willian as an example. Sometimes it's not about just plug and play.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's about not just about the environment, but what you're being asked to do can sometimes really affect a player. And I've never really appreciated that as much before as I have
another example
in the more recent years when I look at situations like a Willian, for example. You know, it's not like it's a young kid who's finding his way. This guy's a seasoned international. You know, he's played at the top level for a long time. And you know, you would think that, you know, after Arsenal, you'd think that, he's bound to fall off a cliff now. That was it. He's going to go over that crest and be going down. And he's still playing at the top level for Fulham. All right, not in the Champions League and that, but he catches the eye. He's producing. The manager's able to rely on him and pick on him. It's a funny game. I was saying like Saint and Greasy, funny old game.
It's a funny old game, Saint.
But, you know, it is. He's thriving.
No, it really is. And, you know, Fulham got to a semi-final against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. How a bigger team didn't go for Pau Torres, says Brownie. It's another example, Stan, of Unai Emery knowing a player from Villarreal and taking him to Aston Villa and getting a tune out of him. Now, I want to sort of remind me of Guendouzi then, you know. I know Unai Emery's a little sweet on Guendouzi, so
immature.
I've never entirely rated Guendouzi. I'm just wondering where Lawrence stands on Matteo Guendouzi, Lawrence.
No, was not a big fan of his. Too immature. I remember him. What game was it? I think it was against Brighton. He was telling the players how much money he makes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know who found him, but he was just too immature for Arsenal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was that video of him sticking his head out the car window when we were celebrating the win against Tottenham. And I don't know, he just was too immature for me.
Right. Okay.
Is that guy where the team's been invited to Buckingham Palace to meet King Charles, and they've all got their club blazers on and their ties, and they're all looking smart and that, and they're in the Buckingham Palace, and they have to walk down like maybe a long flight of stairs, and all of a sudden Guendouzi goes past on the banister. You're like, what the fuck, man? Come on. You can't do that here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like down the banisters, man. What are you doing?
He's saying that, didn't he play for Lazio against Bayern Munich?
Yeah.
He played for.
So
he helped Lazio beat Bayern Munich the other night.
He'd have to be.
Don't get me wrong. There's a player in there.
Yeah.
There's a player in there. He can play ball.
There's
more to it that you need than that sometimes, right? You need a little bit. You need other things, and there's other attributes, key attributes that he seems to be lacking.
Yeah. I think he I think he understood the rivalry that we had with Tottenham and do have with Tottenham. So playing 1/5 of the Tottenham team and Bayern Munich, he would have been up for that game as well. So Guendouzi, and they beat Bayern. Wow, 1-0 halftime. Second leg to come. Mossy, Boise's here. Good morning. Good evening. Good afternoon, Gooners. Thanks for stopping by. Hammers got hammered 6-0. We stuck 6 nails in them. Guendouzi was a head case at Arsenal. He's grown up a bit. Listen, I believe each and every one of you what you're saying, that you were never Guendouzi fans, but I remember it being 50-50 in our fan base.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean, Stan? There was a lot of Guendouzi love out there at the time because he was like putting it about.
I remember at one point he had a stat where he'd played like 40 professional games over 2 clubs and hadn't scored a goal or an assist. And I was like, what the fuck does this guy just do? He just like, like when you go to the park and you kick a ball and you got like this little dog that's just running around after the ball. It's never going to catch it, but it will fucking use all of its energy running after that ball. And that used to remind me of Guendouzi.
Boise was said he was promising. He just had never fulfilled it, though. You know what I mean? And Tony will tell you, Stan, well, we could have cashed in 45-50 million. We could have got at one point for Guendouzi. Michael said Guendouzi or Declan Rice. No contest right there. There were 3 teams on the pitch when he played. Heart and Desire.
Yeah. All right. He was kind of very Liechtenstein-y. No one told him that the war was over either.
Yeah. Yeah, he liked to put it about. Stan, anything else you want to add? Maybe we've been going a little bit long. Well, normal time.
No, good chat. I mean, we know what we got to do. You know your
job.
I really hope I've not haunted myself by putting out a tweet saying like, how come Vincent Kompany's getting such a pass?
Fergus got it in your mind. Fergus got it in your mind there. Come on.
It's got in there. But I mean, we should be able to get a result against Burnley. We should. Everyone else is.
It was
so I mean, you can never be complacent. But like, what I was saying, Ray, is we've got to go with our best team, get ourselves into a comfortable position so that we can make 5 substitutions looking ahead to the Champions League game. We can't start weak and then get into danger and panic and pull the big boys off the bench. We start, get comfortable, and then it's a formality.
100%.
No shock tactics. We go into the Porto game looking to get a result there. That's what I'm looking for.
As you mean to go on, Stan, pick the team that can win the game for you.
Exactly.
And then you can play easy street, hopefully for 20-25 minutes in that game. Shout out to Ferguson, Hillsey, the Gooner. We saw you in the stand on TV.
Saw those. Brilliant.
That was a lot of crack. That was fun. Hillsey, he just sticks out in the crowd. He's got that big smile and the beard to go with it. You know what I mean? So shout out to Ferguson and Hillsey.
Top boys.
All right. Burnley aren't the set piece threat. They have been. Yeah. He's trying to make them play football, and maybe it's not in Burnley's DNA. If we beat Burnley, I believe we are going great. And look, there's five Premier League games to add to these 4 that we've won, Lawrence, and we go to Man City on the back of 9 Premier League wins. Who knows what position City would be in at that point if we add 5 more wins to it. But Stan, thanks for joining us. So Lawrence, you get the final say here, Lawrence. We'll get out of here.
Before Lawrence has the final say, I just want to say thanks for having me. And tomorrow, about 4:30 my time, which is Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a very quick pre-show, Burnley on a Bergkamp Wonderland with Danny, the GFP. So if anybody's around, check that out. And also, I think Lolo will be doing his show as well, the Happy Hour. So don't forget to check that out on a Friday as well. And thanks for having me. And I'll see you all hopefully on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots going on through the week here. Hopefully we get some drama on Saturday, but not at the Burnley game. Ours is a pretty easy game. Hopefully we get 3 points and we go on to the Champions League on Wednesday. We'll be talking about Champions League next Thursday. Lawrence, what have you got to say?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to say 4 words to sign off with. Come on, you Gunners.
All right. I like that. Short
and sweet.
Short, sweet, and to the
I
point.
can get behind that.
Yeah, definitely can get behind that. If we beat Burnley, I believe we're going great. Stan the man. Noe in the house. Thanks for just joining us right at the end, Noe. Come back. We got to see you more often, Noe, as well. Get in the chat box. Hope you're doing well with the young child that you have. A new addition now. Probably a couple of years old now, Noe. And it's got to be an Arsenal supporter, right? Been busy, definitely. I get that. This is the thing we do in between the important things in life. You know what I mean? Been busy. So if and when you have time, come and see us, Noe. Always been one of the first on the channel as well.
One of the foundations. Isn't it?
Yeah,
No was there right at the beginning, man.
2 years and 3 months, Dan. How about that?
No was there at the beginning.
I would say a 2-year-old would keep you busy.
I think I've been with you now for 4 years, right?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
It's gone quick, isn't it? It's mad, isn't it? 4 years or so.
We've done some crazy things together, Stan. You know, there's been some highs and some lows.
That's our secret.
Well, you were talking about. Yeah. Hey guys, says Noe. All right, great show. Thank you, everybody. All right, I better flip the switch, right, and turn out the lights here. Okay. Get your comments in real quick and make it difficult for me to say goodbye. Stan's like, do it. Stan's like,
my wife,
close it out. Come on. Your dinner's ready, Stan, right?
My wife's leaving me. Yeah.
We're the dark. All right. See you, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah.
Take care.
That's right.
Come on, you
see you, Stan.
Thanks, Lawrence, Alonso, and Stan. Gary could not be here with us.
He's always straight out, isn't he, Lawrence? Gone.
He's gone.
Always.
And so are we. Come on,
Like
you're good.
Jose.
Huh?
And he was gone.
3, 2, 1. Thanks, Stan.